If you're training and trying to dial in your nutrition, this is the exact system that I use for myself and my clients. In this video, I'm going to walk you through an example full day of eating that supports fat loss, lean muscle growth, and better performance without overcomplicating it. I'll show you how I combine the simple food group framework with calorie and macronutrient tracking to make sure I'm meeting all of my nutritional needs. You'll see how I build each meal and how I time them around training, and how I hit my goals and targets without needing to be perfect or overthinking everything. Plus, I'll break down the actual macronutrients in each meal, the tools that I use, and how you can apply the same system. Let's get into it. All right, so when we're thinking about the framework for setting up a healthy meal plan and kind of using this as an example as we go through the rest of our what I eat in a day to kind of give you guys a little bit of perspective, this is the easiest way that I can explain it here. So, right, we kind of have this triangle system here, right? So we have a big triangle. And this is kind of the way I like to look at like kind of a science-based approach to healthy eating. I think popularized by Dr. Mike Israetel, but I think it's a great framework for setting up a healthy diet and kind of building it out and giving you some understanding for doing that. So we have several tiers here. And what we'll show you here is like, it goes from most important, which is down here. Let's say most. And then I'll say, you know, it's not less than, but it's, I would say, less important, right, as far as a priority is concerned. So when we break this down, what is at the foundation of this, right, what's going to hold up this whole pyramid is going to be your calories. So that's going to be number one. We're going to focus on about, let's call it 2,800 calories. Then comes the next piece, which is going to be food choice. So this is going to be made up of the food groups, and we'll go through this in just a minute. So then we have up here, which is going to be the next two pieces are going to be macros, and then it's going to be meal timing. All of which will approach each of these sections as we go through this video. And finally, we have hydration. So I'm just going to put H2O for the lack of space. And then at the very tippy top, we can say supplements. So when we think about this, this is an easy way for you to break down a framework for healthy eating, right? The most important thing being, again, calories. Next is going to be food choice, you know, making sure that we're getting quality food choices as well. Then we can say macros, meal timing, hydration, and supplementation. All right, for meal one, we're going to do a strawberry, banana, peanut butter powder, protein smoothie. Holy smokes, that is a mouthful, but nonetheless, let's get into this one.
Starting off the smoothie with 100 grams of frozen strawberries. I like to try and get all my fruits and anything that's going to cause a splash in there first. So then we're going to move on to a banana. We're actually going to do a half of a banana here, somewhere in the range of like 50 to 60 grams if you're measuring it out. Followed up with 8 ounces of milk. And doing 1 serving of this PB2 Fit powder and 20 grams of oats, try and get some whole grains in there, plus some creatine, whey protein, and finally some chia seeds once we get to that. Then we're gonna put this lid on, throw this bad boy on the blender. I love this blender. And there you have it, strawberry, banana, PB2 powder, protein smoothie.
All right, so this smoothie, specifically this meal one, breakfast if you will, is about 459 calories with about 42, call it 43 grams of protein, 61, call it 62 grams of carbohydrate, and roughly about 6, maybe 7 grams of fat. In addition to providing, you know, pretty high protein, pretty high carbohydrate, relatively low dietary fat, it is providing about 21% of the fiber requirement. This is specifically for me and my goals, right? I'm a male that's eating, right, close to 3,000 calories. So that being said, I'm roughly shooting, what, 38 to 40 grams of fiber per day. it is providing about 8 grams of fiber. So that could be different if you are a female and need a little bit less fiber. Of the fats that it's providing almost a full gram of omegas. That's mostly coming from the chia seeds. Protein, of course, is coming from the protein powder, the milk, some of the chia seeds, and the peanut butter. Fiber in and of itself is coming from the chia seeds and the oats that we have in there, providing 52% of my daily calcium intake, 35% of my iron, magnesium 23%, relatively low sodium, 300 milligrams. Overall, this smoothie in and of itself is a quick, easy option that can be made in the morning that's high protein, high fiber, under 500 calories, provides a ton of nutritional value. For meal number 2, we're actually gonna do a Greek yogurt bowl. We're gonna do that with blueberries, peanut butter, some honey, and adding some more chia seeds again to get a little bit more fiber, a little bit more healthy fats. So let's go ahead and break this one down.
Starting off with about 200 grams of non-fat plain Greek yogurt. Get that measured out. Then we're going to do a full serving of frozen blueberries. Right, this is another serving of fruit in combination with our smoothie from earlier, but about 130 grams of these frozen blueberries. Then we're going to add some more chia seeds to get a little bit more fiber, a little bit more omegas, and some of those vitamins and minerals. About 10 grams of those. I like to mix it up here, get these things all combined. And then we're going to top it with some peanut butter, about 15 grams or half a tablespoon. Plus doing about 20 grams of some honey as well.
All right, so for this Greek yogurt, peanut butter, blueberry, chia seed, and honey bowl, that's a mouthful to say once again, we have about 365 calories, 27 grams of protein, about 47 grams of carbohydrate, and 9.5, call it 10 grams of fat. Again, about 17 grams of fiber, so a decent amount of fiber. Probably a majority of that's coming from blueberries and the chia seeds. Other than that, we have about 30% or a third of the calcium intake coming from the Greek yogurt in and of itself, probably a little bit from the chia seeds as well. And that's one thing I'll mention here is when you're seeing these recipes and these meals, something that you can take away, right? You're seeing the food groups that I'm incorporating with the meals, right? So with the smoothie earlier, you saw the milk being the primary dairy source. You saw this one having the primary dairy source being the Greek yogurt. You can then see the lunch, I'm gonna do another serving of dairy in the form of low-fat mozzarella cheese. That's gonna be able to provide me with like a third. So completing my calcium for the day by having those 3 servings of dairy in. So as you're seeing this, it's like, okay, I'm combining not only the calories and the macros, but making sure we're eating from the food groups in general so that we can meet some of these other nutrients. So coming back to this, again, a decent source of protein, mid-morning snack. This recipe in and of itself has about 6.4 grams of fiber. And then the 9 grams of fat that it has about 1.2 grams of saturated fat, so relatively low there. And then again, about another gram of omegas. All right, so I'll see you guys with the next meal. All right, so we're on to meal 3 at this point. Right around lunchtime, give or take, just after meal 2 and the Greek yogurt meal. The goal here is to have something pretty filling, a normal meal. Normally do, some sort of easy throw together dish. The reason that I say this is like lunchtime, right? You're at work, you're doing your thing. The last thing you need to do is like put down all your stuff and to have to like put together a lunch, right? And so this was the one meal that I'll actually meal prep for the entire week. Having this option of like something simple, something that's gonna be a quick recipe, normally a crock pot, 1-pan dishes that I can throw together on a Sunday after grocery shopping, and I can have that all done within like a couple of hours. This week we have a white chicken chili. It's super simple, super easy. I go ahead and make the entire recipe and then I'll divide it out into individual containers, and that becomes my lunch for the rest of the week. So once I am ready to eat it, I do kind of leave my toppings and stuff off to the side so that I can reheat it in the microwave and then put my toppings on, so I'm not like, I have some cilantro, don't really want to microwave that, and then some cheese, I like that to melt because it's a warm dish, not because it was in the microwave. All right, so our white chicken chili crock pot recipe here has about 485 calories, 37 grams of protein, 46 grams of carbohydrate with about 17 grams of fat. When we look at the ingredients, the food groups, Some things that we can consider here are going to be, we have some low-fat dairy, so some more calcium intake. We have our lean protein coming from the shredded chicken. We've got our beans in there as well, so that's going to provide us with some fiber and some other nutrients. In general, this recipe provides a significant source of your B vitamins, normally coming from the chicken. A good source of vitamin A. It's also going to be an excellent source of vitamin C. A really good source of a lot of different minerals. So we have calcium 29%, copper 53%, iron 46%, magnesium 22%, potassium 24%. Of the carbs that we do have, about 7.5, call it 8 grams, are coming from fiber. Pretty much the beans are going to be that source there. The fat from this, seeing that it is 17 grams, a little bit higher. Animal protein, and even it's not a fat-free dairy source like the skim milk or the Greek yogurt, but rather it is a reduced fat, part skim mozzarella cheese, if you will, which is going to also contribute to the saturated fat composition of this meal, which is about 8.1 grams of saturated fat in total. But overall, a really decent meal, providing a ton of different nutrients, high in protein, high in fiber, and roughly just under about 500 calories. Okay, so we are on to pre-workout nutrition. Most often time, I will do a Gatorade powder. The main ingredient that's going to be in this is going to be dextrose, which is a form of sugar or glucose, really easily digestible, really easily absorbable. Honestly, it's just going to help make sure that when we're at the gym or training, we have readily available sugar that is going to be in the bloodstream, ready to rock and roll. So by doing that, by having some carbohydrate before I'm making it readily available, I'll take some with me, right? So my training is probably going to last a little bit over an hour. So by having some with me, it's going to make sure that I can train a little bit longer, more effectively. And then by coming home and having some carbohydrate, again, I'm providing my body with a steady stream of fuel and nutrients that it can kind of pull from, especially when I'm taxing and using the system, i.e. the muscle, during this workout. So that's why we're doing it here. So we have about 12 ounces of water, give or take, in a old spaghetti jar. I think I'm gonna do about 33 grams of this total. This is gonna give me about another, call it 35 grams of carbohydrate. I'll slam this before I go, so I'm getting a nice little bolus of water before I go, so I'll be well hydrated. All right, so there's my 30 grams of pretty easily digestible carbohydrate. It'll be ready for me once I'm at the gym. And then again at the gym, I'll be having another one of this concoction while I'm there, so that I can get another, call it 30 to 40 grams of carbohydrate. All right, cool. We're gonna head to the gym and I will see you guys after. All right, so we're just getting back done with training. So you know what time that means? It's post-workout meal time. And so I'm gonna show you what I normally do for some sort of post-workout. Just walked in the door, so I'm gonna prop you up for just a hot second. Let me wash my hands and we'll start putting this together. So, like I said, just got done working out, still pretty sweaty, still pretty gross. Get this guy off real quick. And so, for our post-workout, if you will, normally doing some sort of cereal and milk. Sometimes I'll mix a protein shake in there, depending on how much protein I'm at for the day. Sometimes I'll just go with the cereal and milk. I've got 2 here. I'm gonna get a little bit more fiber with these bran flakes, but they're just not that tasty. Like virtually 0 fat in these guys, 7 grams of fiber, 29 grams carb. The goal here is to kind of replenish some of those carbohydrates that I burnt, so I did legs today. And this is where like some more processed, like easily digestible carbohydrates would come into play. So these guys only have 3 grams of fiber versus the 7 and 30 grams of carbohydrate per 37 grams. So I'll probably do like 20 to 30 grams of this. Serving size would be 36 grams or 1 cup, 110 calories. And then I'll do probably another 20 to 30 grams of this guy, which is compared to a serving size, which is a cup at 140 calories, a little bit more fast digesting. And then just, I said, some amino acids, but again, the priority, getting the carbs to shuttle back in there, replenishing those, because I can get amino acids from my dinner after, and then I'll probably have like a high protein kind of dessert or snack or shake at the end of the night as well. So that's the plan for now. Let's put this one together. And then just about a cup of milk in here. Right, sets us up with, call it probably 12 grams of protein
closer to 50 grams of carbs and very little fat. So there's 3 grams total in this guy, but I didn't do a full serving in this guy, so probably 1 to 2 grams here, 1 to 2 grams here. So primarily carbohydrate, some protein, and very little fat.
Moving on to dinner, we're doing some pre-baked potatoes, and then we're throwing back those in the air fryer. So we had about 200 grams of baked potatoes. We're going to pair this with a pork chop. I think it's about 5 ounces. Normally I'll do 2 servings of protein here, but yeah, so 200 grams of the baked potatoes, 5 ounces of pork chop or a lean protein, plus doing about 130 grams of broccoli. And there are the macros and calories for this meal. Okay, so I wanted to give us a little bit more of a zoomed out view of what the meal plan actually entails, and to give you another concrete example of how to design a meal plan, not just to hit your calories, not just to hit your protein, but to make sure you're getting all your vitamins, all your minerals, all your fiber, all the things that you need to, right, be healthy. So on and so forth, right? So for this example here, you can see our meal plans fully laid out: the smoothie, the Greek yogurt bowl, the white chicken chili, we have the Gatorade pre and intra workout rather, and then we had the cereal for our post-workout, and then we had the pork chop with some baked potatoes and broccoli. And so as you can see going through this, the goal is, actually I'm going to reference back to the piece where we talked about the that triangle for like healthy eating, right? It's like, okay, at the bottom of the triangle, the foundation was calories, right? And that's what we stuck with. Currently shooting for, let's see here, what are we doing? Somewhere in the range of like 23 to 2,600 calories, trying to get a little bit leaner going into summer. I have a vacation coming up in September, so that's my goal right now. Even in that, right, I'm trying to hit, call it 170 to 190 grams of protein, still in like the 300 gram carb club, and then 45 grams of fat, but in addition to that, right, I'm trying to hit all the vitamins, all the minerals, all that fun stuff. So going back to that triangle piece, what we were talking about earlier, right, the foundation was calories, right, and we met that. The next piece of that was actually food choice, specifically choosing from the food groups. Just to go into a little bit more detail, because we didn't cover that much in the beginning, the food groups essentially are, and what I'm trying to shoot for is your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, your low-fat dairy, and then your lean proteins. Those 5 are the main. I'd have to say that I tack on personally trying to eat at least a serving of nuts or seeds every single day and a serving of beans and or legumes every day, just from the nutrient value that those 2 provide. So just to give you a little bit of reference here, that's right. We had, about a serving and a half of fruit here, another full serving here. So we had 2.5 servings of fruit for this one, right within line with what we were trying to do. We had some beans, we had some vegetables in the white chicken chili. Then we had some whole grains. We also had some whole grains up here in the strawberry banana smoothie when we put the oats in there as well. And then we had down here, right, lean protein. We had our baked potatoes and then our broccoli. So counting as another serving of fruit. Another serving of vegetables. So by eating with that framework, right, staying within the calories, making sure that we're choosing from the food groups, then kind of piecing in the macro and the meal timing piece, and then anything else like including hydration and supplementation. I will note that I do have a multivitamin up here as well, that I do take just to kind of cover my bases, almost like an insurance package. But for the most part, a majority of my nutrients are actually coming directly from this meal plan. It's a small percentage of the ones that aren't coming from it. So the main pieces that I want you to take away from this is right, by eating those food groups, you're making sure that you're hitting your vitamins. You can see these are pretty flushed out here, with the exception of choline. Choline could be used a little bit more there, but otherwise, we've got completely, 100% or more on all of them. Same thing with the minerals, right? Calcium, copper, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, sodium, zinc. All the minerals, we're meeting those as well. And then finally, the fiber, right? That's what you get, right? Not just the calories, not just the macros, but you get the vitamins, the minerals, and the fiber by choosing and kind of constructing your meal plans in a way that provides you with well balanced is, I guess, the best word here, nutrition, right? Providing you with all these other nutrients in addition to the energy components, which would be the calories and the macros. So, with that being said, I hope this helped give you or paint a picture on how you can start constructing some meal plans. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, I'd love to hear them down